Hello and welcome to day 4 of the Start 1K program. Hope you're enjoying things so far, and most importantly, you've been following along, doing the actions, doing your homework, and starting to make some progress towards that 1K in 6 weeks. Okay, today we're going to talk about market research. What is it? Why is it important? How do we do it? And more importantly, how is it going to help us reach that 1K in the 6 weeks? So, the dictionary definition of market research, which I will have to read, is the action or activity of gathering information about customer needs and preferences. So what does that mean for you? What it means is you've got to find out if there's people out there, or are there people out there who are willing to buy your product or service. Okay? Now, the majority of businesses set up through this program, speculating a little bit, but they won't necessarily be brand new products or services. There'll be people out there already doing the type of work that you're planning to do. You might have a unique twist on it, you might have a variation on it, you might even have a completely new idea. But even if you don't, it doesn't mean that you get to skip the market research stage. I know if I use my previous example of a dog walking business, I know that people have dogs, I know that people use dog walking services. Therefore, I don't necessarily need to prove a market. I know what's out there already. I know that customers pay for this service. However, market research is still very, very, very important, and I'll explain why. So, my favourite book on the subject is a book called The Mom Test, or as I would say, The Mom Test, by a guy called Rob Fitzpatrick. And what that book is, it's basically the concept that if you ask your mom questions about your business idea, the likelihood is that she will lie to you. Not because your mum's particularly sinister or a compulsive liar, but simply because she doesn't want to hurt your feelings. And that's not only true of your mum, it's true of your mum, it's true of all of your potential customers. As soon as you go out there and you say to them, hey, I've got this great business idea, do you think you would use it? 9 times out of 10, they'll say yes, regardless, because they don't want to hurt your feelings. Customers, unfortunately, market research stage, they lie. But they don't lie in a sinister way, they just lie because they don't want to offend you. Now, the only thing that doesn't lie is when they pay you for a product or service, and that is the key metric. Will they pay for it? Now, how do we avoid this? Well, there's a number of tools that we can utilize, and there's a number of things I'm going to talk through to you today. It's going to be a fairly quick one, fairly brief one, but there's going to be some real action that you need to take at the end. So I'll get into the detail shortly. Okay, so rule number 1 is we're not going to ask anyone if they think our idea is a good idea, because the answers that you will get from asking that question are meaningless. 99% of people are going to ask you are going to answer to say, yeah, it's a great idea, why don't you go for it? Now, the reality is that's not useful data for you, okay? So there's no point of asking that question. We're going to avoid it like the plague. So what we are going to do is we're going to ask better questions. And those better questions, guess what? They're going to give us better answers. And the better answers are going to lead to a better business. Nice and easy. So the mom test, as I mentioned earlier, the mom test has 3 simple rules. Okay, so first of all, you talk to the customer about their life, not about your idea. So for instance, go to the dog walking service that I mentioned earlier. We might ask, how do you manage walking a dog? Do you have time to walk the dog? How often do you walk the dog? What are the problems that you have? Do you struggle to juggle dog walking with other aspects of your life? How do you feel about leaving the dog all day if you have to go to work? But the trick is here not to put those answers in the customer's mind, but allow them to tell you about, I guess, the trials and tribulations of being a dog owner. And then what you really want to get to is specifics. So if somebody says, for instance, following the dog walking question, they might say something along the lines of, oh, she gets plenty of long walks. Okay, when was the last time you managed to do that? How far is a long walk? Those type of questions. Or, let's say you're setting up with a personal trainer and someone says, I try to go to the gym, but I don't really enjoy it. Okay, tell me a little bit about what happened last time. Why don't you enjoy it? You really, really want to get to those specifics. It's very easy to have a general statement. It's much harder to come back and get the specifics. And the specifics about what's happening, that's really where the truth is, and that's where the gold is for you and your business. And the golden rule, one which I'm not very good at, is talk less, listen more. Let your customers speak, give them time to speak, and don't be afraid of silence. Let them think, let them distill their answer down. Okay? So, important lesson there is, don't ask whether it's a good idea. Ask the customer about their life. Ask about specific instances where they've had to deal with the problem that your product or service is designed to solve, and talk less and listen more. And very, very important, this is not a pitch. We are not pitching at this point. We are not selling anything. We are merely listening to customers. Okay, so in terms of doing the market research, undertaking that research with customers, the key thing is what we're trying to do is we're trying to have a real conversation with customers. So I'm going to give you now a selection of questions. You can come up with your own, of course. What I don't want you to do is by rote go through these questions. Question 1, question 2, question 3. That is not a good way to really get insightful data from your customers. We're not talking about numbers here. We're not talking about high volume. Those type of questions might be great when you're interviewing 1,000 people, but guess what? We're not interviewing 1,000 people here. We're going to talk to a handful of potential customers, and what we're going to do with those potential customers is we're going to engage them in a meaningful conversation, which is going to give you not volume data, not quantitative data, qualitative data, so can't even say that, but data that's going to be really, really useful for you in shaping your business idea. So, some examples of good questions. Tell me more about your problem. Allow them to open up and explain it. What does that problem feel like to you? What does it mean for you? When was the last time you experienced a problem? What have you tried to do to fix the problem? What else have you tried to do to fix the problem? How have you dealt with the problem in the past? How are you dealing with the problem now? Talk me through the last time this problem occurred and what you did or didn't do and how it felt for you. And one of my favorites, what would be the perfect solution for you? So those are the type of questions. Now, you don't want them, what you don't want to do is you don't want to pitch. It's really, really important. You just want to listen. Point I made previously, you need to listen to the customers. You need to allow those customers, or those potential customers in this case, to articulate their problem to you. You need to understand what it means in their words. It's really, really important. So what we're trying to do here is build relationships, build engagement, and have meaningful conversations. Dead easy. Okay, next idea. We want to be asking the customers at least one question that could potentially ruin or destroy our business idea. Now, that might sound like self-sabotage. It's quite the opposite. What it is potentially preventing you from spending a lot of time, perhaps some money, on developing a product or service that none of your customers or potential customers actually want to buy. So it's really, really important that we allow the customers the opportunity to be, well, let's call it brutally honest with us. So simple questions along the lines of, why haven't you bought a service like this in the past? What's stopping you from purchasing this service? Why wouldn't you use this service? What's potentially, when I say the service, remember, we're not talking about your business idea per se. What we're talking about is the solution to the problem. So why haven't you solved this problem previously? Why haven't you bought in a solution from another business that could potentially solve this problem? So you say you've never got time to clean. Why haven't you bought this service in a cleaning service, for instance? And it might be a financial reason. It might be the fact that They just accept the fact that they don't really mind too much if the house needs tidying up now and again. You know, they just don't keep it as pristine as they perhaps would like. Those type of questions which can potentially ruin your business idea, are fantastic, because that knowledge, learning to really love bad news, you know, that knowledge is what's going to help you pivot. It's going to help you move in the right direction for your business. Or it's going to help you identify that these people, whoever you thought, are not necessarily your ideal customers. Now, Lisa's going to talk to you tomorrow about how you identify your ideal customers. At this stage, what we're trying to do is just get a real understanding of who your customers might be before we start to hone down on a smaller section of the market. Okay, the final concept I want to talk about today is the idea of asking your potential customers for help. And what I mean by that is, if your potential customers have some industry or some industry knowledge or some insight into the product or service that you're offering on the marketplace that you're offering it to, then it would be sensible to talk to them to kind of glean some information from them. Now, for instance, I'll give an example. If I was setting up a business offering a handyman maintenance service to landlords, I might reach out to letting agents and, you know, landlords within my local area. And I might say to them something along these lines. So perhaps an email, LinkedIn, something like that. A message out to those individuals. Hey, I'm looking to solve the issue of how landlords keep on top of regular maintenance of their properties which they let out. At a very, very early stage with this, and I know you guys are leaders in the field in the Northeast, for argument's sake, I would love to kind of understand a little bit more about the problem from your perspective. I'm very, very new to this industry. I'm a great maintenance guy, but I haven't really worked with letting agencies before. And I know how well you guys do at this kind of stuff. I would love to pick your brains. I would love to sit down, buy you a coffee and just have a chat with you about it. If you can spare 10, 15, 20 minutes, something along those lines. And then literally ask the question, you know, how would you best present this solution? How would this, and what would an ideal solution look like for you as a letting agent, as a landlord, and allow those customers who've got the real pains, the real experience to help inform your development and your ideas, or even just how you present your ideas. You know, I'm talking here about business development. It doesn't necessarily mean revolutionizing the dog walking industry or revolutionizing the, you know, the letting, the maintenance of let properties. You know, it's not about that. It's about how you design your service to fit the specific needs of the individuals. You don't just want to be the 10th property management company who does nothing any different from anyone else. You want to bring your own authenticity. You want to understand your customers' needs, and you want to set yourself apart. Because if you can't set yourself apart necessarily through the discipline, you can set yourself apart through the customer experience and through your service. And that's critical, particularly as a new business, because you've got to, you know, push your way into a market a little bit here. And the way to do that is with exceptional service, understanding your customer, and fantastic marketing. And we're going to cover all that, so that's all good. Okay, final step today. We're going to talk a little bit about your homework. Didn't think you were going to get away with that. Okay, the homework today, as you may have guessed, is to talk to some potential customers. Now, so the way we're going to do this is I want you to write at least 3 good quality questions, okay? No questions that do not mention the idea, they do not talk about you, they talk about the customer. So you need to write at least 3 good quality questions. 3 is a magic number, so I've heard. And at least 1 critical question. That type of question that I mentioned earlier, the question that has the potential to ruin your business. Sounds a little bit like self-harm, but it's not. It's a very, very important step. Okay? Now, so we've got 3 questions written. We've got 1 critical question. And as ever, if you're stuck with any of this, put a message in the group, put a post in the group, and we'll jump in there and help you. But you're going to have 3 questions, 1 critical question, and what I want you to do then is talk to 5, minimum 5 potential customers. Now, This is not a questionnaire. It's a conversation. This is also going to get you out of your comfort zone because you're going to have to speak to people who perhaps you've never met before. And in fact, I would encourage you to speak to people who you've never met before. You can also add on a very, very simple question at the end of any conversations you do have, which can be, who else should I speak to about this? Because it's amazing when you're in a specific industry, or, you know, even if it's not necessarily a business to business style transaction. But if I'm sitting down and I'm talking to someone, go back to my dog walking business, I'm speaking to somebody about the potential that, you know, their dog needs walking during the day. It's potential there's issues in terms of reliability with previous services or with insurance or whatever else it might be. I ask them, who else should I speak to? And they say, oh, well, actually, I was speaking to my neighbour about this because she has exactly the same problem. Or my sister's just bought a puppy and I know that she works full time and she's going to experience a very, very similar issue sooner or later. So that introduction can be very, very useful as well. You know, you might get some different information, and that's the point. You talk to different people, a minimum of 5 people, and you have conversations with them. It's going to help you frame your business. So I want you to write the 3 questions, write the critical question, talk to 5 people, and if you don't know 5 people, reach out through your network. It could be posts on Facebook groups, it could be, you know, asking people that you know already to make introductions to people that they might know. You will find 5 potential customers minimum easily. You want to get out there and you want to start having conversations with those people. Now, what I don't want you to do is say, well, I spoke to 5 people and they all said they haven't got time. If the first 4 people haven't found time, you've got to still find 5 more people. Regardless, you've got to have 5 conversations. That's the important thing here. Have conversations, learn lessons, feedback to the group, and tomorrow, from the lessons that you've learned, Lisa's going to talk you through creating a customer avatar, creating your ideal customer. Good luck.